Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Okay, Michael Cohen went one day into his testimony under direct from the prosecution, and he maintained his composure, answered questions, didn't expand on his answers, basically did everything he was supposed to do, and basically implicated Trump in these crimes. The first day of his testimony is really sealing the deal and bringing the prosecution's case full circle and closing it off. Now, mind you, the defense will cross-examine him, and they are going to absolutely savage this guy in cross-examination. I was listening to on my drive home to some pirated broadcasts of Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell, where they were sort of summarizing what happened in the trial today. And there was a very interesting point that was brought up with the panel. I think Katie Fang was the one bringing it up. But basically, opening statements are not evidence. Information provided by witnesses, expert witnesses and such, are evidence. The evidence that's put into the record is evidence. Cross-examination is not evidence. So right now, there has been, the witnesses have all pretty much agreed what happened and why it happened. And there's a lot of physical evidence to support their narrative. The only way the defense can win this case is to present a different narrative. And the falsification of business records, that's going to be a real tough one to overcome. So the only real way to win this case is to say that Donald Trump did not do that for the election. He did it for other reasons, but the 2016 election was not one of the reasons why he hid these payments and committed business fraud and things along those lines. And the reason why that has to be their defense at this point is that, again, there's a lot of evidence to show they committed business fraud. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of business fraud that they committed. Business fraud like we've never seen before. You wouldn't believe the amount of fraud. So the only thing that makes this a felony is when it's in commission of another crime or to hide something. It's a conspiracy. Now, hiding it from your wife and your family would not bring this to the elevation of a felony. But doing it to bamboozle the general public so that he doesn't get crushed by the female vote or the evangelical vote, that would rise to that level. And they were saying it's not even a reasonable doubt. It doesn't even have to be as high as reasonable doubt. It just has to be a plausible explanation. Donald Trump is screwed. There's only one person who can save Donald Trump in this, and that's Donald Trump. Because he's the only one who can refute this. Anything else would probably be hearsay or something like that. And they certainly wouldn't have any actual evidence to present because they haven't entered it into the record, into evidentiary record yet. So, Trump has to defend himself, or you have to have a juror who is so fanatical that they deviate from their jury oath that they take about ruling on the case on the evidence. So let's take a look at whether or not Donald Trump is going to testify in his own defense. I know he always says that he wants to. There is zero chance any lawyer lets him up there. And if he does go up there, oh lordy, I could retire with the number of views I'll get on my videos if that happens. The other one is I'll take another look at the jury. When I've looked at the jury before, they looked like they were a solid jury. Let's see if the cards are still agreeing with this. Okay? So, entertainment purposes only. Let's look at how the case is looking at right now. Then we'll go into these questions. Ace of Swords. I think it's a solid case. A sword of truth, piercing the crown. It's so obvious. This case is so obvious. This is the play school version of a conspiracy to commit business fraud to advance election theft. type case. Crossed with the payoffs, crossed with the money crime, following the money, explaining how the money went from one person to another person, following the trail. The money trail is there. The reasoning is obvious. And underneath it all is the Two of Wands. It's really obvious, the things that were considered in this trial. The evidence, it's really irrefutable. It's not a flat earth. It's a sphere that's in his hand. And anybody telling you it's a flat earth is delusional. In the past, we've got the Six of Cups. Again, Karen McDougal's not on there. Trump would hand the flowers to Karen McDougal because, he could easily get what he wanted with her with just some kind words and little gifts. With Stormy Daniels, he had to, deceive her so that he could have what he wanted on this one. And honestly, with this case, there's a lot of naivety and a lot of empowerment that was being done to help Donald Trump along with this. Everybody had a role. You think about how many different opportunities there were for this case to never go forward. I mean, not this case, excuse me. For this conspiracy to never go forward. For Trump to never get elected. If Stormy Daniels or Karen McDougal sold their story to anybody but the National Enquirer, we would have found out about it. Trump would not have been elected. If Michael Cohen decides that when Donald Trump decides not to pay the National Enquirer for the Stormy Daniels thing, Stormy Daniels wants to go to ABC News. If she does that and ignores Michael Cohen, we find out about it. Trump doesn't get elected. If Michael Cohen doesn't decide to pay the money out of his own pocket, out of his home equity line of credit, which we found out the reason why he did it was there were no statements, therefore his wife wouldn't find out. That's possible. This wouldn't have happened. If Keith Davidson and the other folk from AMI, as they put on their text message after the election, was like, oh my God, what have we done? If they didn't do what they did, none of this would have happened. The story would have gotten out. Donald Trump wouldn't have been elected. It's like there's all these things that had to happen, all these different components that had to fall in place just right for this to happen. Thanks, God. You suck. I'm sorry, I was talking about this case here. The current situation with this case is most of the story's been told at this point. Now, I know Michael Cohen should be up for another day of direct, and that's coming. But the ship is coming into the shore, and the story is being told. It's a complete story. There's no gaps in this story. The overarching energy is binding and gagging the truth, especially with his bad behavior around women. These two women in case. And, veiled threats to keep them quiet, money payments to keep them quiet, to keep them NDAs to keep them hostage so they don't tell their story. That's the overarching message with this. The lesson to be learned is the Five of Cups, the disappointment. I think my rant I just went through highlights this to a T. There were so many opportunities for this scheme to get knocked over, and we could have had a normal president, first female president ever, but a normal president with a normal administration. And when COVID hit, we would have had a normal presidency doing everything they could to keep Americans safe. Apparently, that's not what we wanted. It's not all bad. I guess not everybody died. And we did get Biden in 2020, only to have, insurrections and other things go on. I suppose 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we might say, wow, that was the greatest thing ever. But until then, I have a different opinion as to what it is. I'm focused on the short-term suckage of it. Out comes the victory card. Yeah, this the way this case is going, the prosecution has it. Yeah, that's. I guess we also need to see if Trump is successful in getting a mistrial. Really, yeah, Trump can save the case, or they have to have a mistrial. I know that I did my Trump health reading, and I got a hit on Barron's graduation, and that he could have a major health issue by then. I think after I was done with that, and the reason why that one even hit was I was kind of randomly talking after the solstice part of it, and Barron's graduation came up, and it's like, oh my god, I'm thinking about Barron's graduation. Is that what it is? Which is why I followed up with that line of questioning. After I'd done that reading, I was also wondering, I wonder if he makes some scene in the court or something like along those lines, because there's also this big push. They've already tried for mistrial 2 or 3 times now, and they've been denied each time. Trump knows he can't win this case. He can't. He cannot win this case. His best thing to do is keep getting a mistrial after a mistrial after a mistrial, and hopefully win the election, and then basically say that he can't be prosecuted by the state of New York while he's the president of the United States. Something along those lines. I'm not saying that that he can pardon himself. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that he would just say, I'm the president of the United States, you can't prosecute me against these things, and have some attorney general hired that would protect him. Because that's what he would have to do. And then, of course, it means he could never leave the office of the presidency, because then New York would go after him. So that's the fascism that we are facing here, and why there would be fascism. And while he's in there, he might as well just start killing off his enemies, because why not? Presidents are kings, right? All right, so we read on the general energy of it. How will Michael Cohen handle the first round of, with the energy the way it's set now, when Michael Cohen starts undergoing cross-examination, will he be able to maintain his calm and his and control of his emotions during the first day of cross? Okay, so we get the 3 of Cups. I think he'll get through direct just fine. Cross might last, no, in the first, it might be 3 hours, it might be 3 questions that they get in, or 3 points of attack. I think he's going to get through the first day of cross fine. Like, we can just look at the card the way it is. Celebration. That he's done well on his first day of direct. I believe there's probably another half a day of direct to a full day of direct, possibly. But he's going to have probably a partial day of direct, and then the cross is going to happen. This could also be 3 days of cross-examination. Crossed with a lack of integrity, illusion, and delusion. Okay, so they're going to go after his integrity. They're going to say that Michael Cohen is just a sleazebag. He's an do not be surprised if they call him an ambulance chaser. At some point, they're going to throw that insult out at him. I don't know why the word ambulance chaser came to mind just now, because he's anything but that. But they're going to insult him and call him an ambulance chaser. I can almost guarantee you that. They are going to... There's the Ace of Cups is underneath this. This is, somebody who is devoted to Trump. As much as any MAGA person's ever been devoted to Trump, Michael Cohen was devoted to Trump. There's now a lot of passion and animosity between those two sides. The defense is going to go after Michael Cohen and try and get emotional responses out of him. Mind you, this is trying to undermine his credibility, but undermining his credibility isn't evidence. It's just undermining his credibility. The evidence is what has been testified to. So this is going to be a difficult case for the defense to win. So instead, let's just humiliate Michael Cohen, because that'll be fun. Maybe we'll get a mistrial out of it. So they'll go after Michael Cohen's integrity. He's a money grubber. He's an ambulance chaser. He's a hack. He's this, that, or the other thing. He's a liar, a cheat, a thief. Whatever they can come up with. Just like on this card up here. In the past, we had the 5 of Cups. look at all these emotions here too. Strong emotions for both Michael Cohen and the defense. Michael Cohen looks... in the past, he could more easily lose his temper than control it. And I'm not saying he's ashamed by that. He's a passionate guy. But these 3 cups down are now the 3 cups raised. And he's got 2 cups up. And I think those 2 cups will stay raised. He lost in standing to Trump and spent time behind prison. He was thrown under the bus. He was blamed for stuff. But now he's on a redemption tour. And these cups that were knocked down by Donald Trump, are now, now being held up in celebration of him. The current situation during initial cross-examination is the 4 of coins. Keeping himself contained, under control. He is protecting his heart. He's smart enough to know he can answer the questions. He is going to protect his heart with both hands and a shield in front of it. You aren't getting through this shield. This is my little Captain America shield here. It's impervious to the words that you say and the slings and arrows that you hurl at it. You're not going to get me to budge. I think he will do well on that first day of cross-examination because he's going to be tightly under control. The overarching energy is the 3 of coins. This could be Michael Cohen practicing with his attorneys and them hurling insults at him, getting him to turn that passion dark. This is also, it's about the conspiracy. This is about the money that was done and the people involved in the conspiracy. The defense might say that Michael Cohen was a loose cannon running off on his own and Trump was unaware of this conspiracy. Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen did it all on his own without any help from Trump. But none of that makes any sense. It's not backed by the data. It's unbelievable. Any defense that Trump's defense team tries to put on or attack on Michael Cohen saying he's like some loose cannon, it's just going to fall flat. There's no light behind that. The evidence doesn't support it. When in doubt, make shit up. The lesson to be learned, Trump's attorneys will probably accuse him of all sorts of things, trying to piss him off. At least on that first day. I don't think Cohen's going to fall for it. He's too prepared for it. He kind of knows what the game is. And in some ways, if Michael Cohen can play it like a game, I don't know if he's quick-witted enough to be like Stormy Daniels, to have a rapier-like tongue for some insulting and repartee back and forth with Trump's lawyers. Honestly, I just think that he maintains his story. If you own it like Stormy Daniels and you maintain your story, you're going to be fine. And that's one thing, again, with the Michael Cohen Redemption Tour, as I call it, he owns it. He absolutely owns it. And then he tries to provide that wisdom to others so that they don't go what he went through. That's kind of what makes him refreshing. Is the guy a jerk? Probably. Would you want him as your next door neighbor? Probably not. I bet you he's a real pain in the butt. But in this case, he's at least owning his stuff. Stormy Daniels did the same thing, which makes them really believable and relatable. Because who doesn't like somebody who owns their bad behavior? And then tries to do something about it. Or in the case of Stormy Daniels, doesn't really, it's like, that was bad behavior. I made bad choices. I can make better choices next time. But I'm not going to be a victim. That type of thing. I don't know if Michael Cohen's quite at the non-victim stage, but I think he understands about making better decisions. Outcome is the Knight of Pentacles. They're just, they'll call him, there's your ambulance chaser, there's your black horse ambulance, and there he is offering his business card. They're just going to say Michael Cohen's a mercenary. He was never in Trump's inner circle. He's just superfluous to that. He was the coffee boy. He was the guy that they gave the crappy jobs to. Almost like the garbage man, the sanitation engineer. They are just going to keep throwing out insults, calling him a hack, an ambulance chaser. He's, he's the garbage man of lawyers. Oh, they're just going to keep insulting him. But all he has to say is, yet your client had me on his staff for 10 years. What does that say about him? Literally, that's kind of like the Stormy Daniels response to that. But your client had me on his payroll for 10 years. What does that say about his judgment? That he couldn't figure that out. Okay. How's the jury looking at all this? How's the jury looking at this testimony? You got one day of Michael Cohen. How are they looking at him so far? Things look like they were going to go pretty well for him. I don't suspect that's changed a whole heck of a lot. Okay. The foundation reads the 10 of Wands. Difficult to stay on the top. I think the jury might actually have an appreciation how difficult a job it was that Michael Cohen, the tasks that he was given, the Herculean tasks, the 10 tasks of Hercules, clean out the stables and do this, that, and the other thing. And here's a guy that was just breaking his back, bending over backwards, trying to do the impossible for somebody who's never satisfied with anything. And also, you can also look at the 10s are endings. And this is a burden that he's bearing. And this is the end of his burden that he has to bear. Page of Wands is the cross with it. But he's telling you everything. It might be difficult for him to do it, or maybe he's not real happy about the stuff he did before. But he's, like Stormy Daniels, he's telling his story anyways. He's guiding the jury through the evidence. And he's doing it methodically. And it's an unstoppable force as he goes through it. Interesting. So in the past we have the Moon card. One of the things that Michael, and I got this from listening to again the folks on MSNBC as I was listening to their podcast. One of the things Rachel Maddow specifically, many of the things that were kind of weird were explained. Like one of the things I brought up. Why did Michael Cohen use his home equity line of credit to pay Stormy Daniels? Well, it's because unlike a bank statement, he wasn't going to get a bank statement mailed to his house. Therefore, his wife wouldn't see this $130,000 line of credit taken out from the home equity line of credit and have a bunch of questions for him. He could keep her in the dark. There were a bunch of other ones here. See if I can even remember any of them. They talked about why his reimbursements were taxed up, were more than what it was, and explained that they tried to make him whole because they were going to make him and provide it as income, right? And they paid it over a year, and he knew that Weisselberg and Trump had already negotiated this beforehand because. Think about it. Trump owes Michael Cohen $130,000. Trump is all about never paying the full amount, always negotiate it down. So they asked Michael Cohen, did Trump try to negotiate you down? No. Which Michael Cohen said, that's because he and Weisselberg had already talked with them and told them what the bad news was going to be, and here's the amount. So Trump understood. So that's why there was no negotiation going down from there. And that they wanted to pay him over 12 months. And Michael Cohen wanted to be paid up front, and Weisselberg had already prepped Trump, and Trump said, oh, no, 12 months is better. And Michael Cohen said, well, I've worked at that place for a long time. I knew what they were playing. They were playing a game with me. They had already had the conversation. Now they're bringing me into it on their practice conversation. What else they talked about? They talked about the reason why they paid him over 12 months was, and plus some extra money, was that he needed to leave the Trump org so that they could pay him on a monthly basis as Trump's private attorney. Otherwise, he's already an employee of Trump Org, making his $300,000 a year, $350 whatever he made. So why would you be paying him, $400,000 over a year's time in extra salary? That makes no sense, right? Because he's already getting paid a salary. Why would you pay him more? So he had to go so that he could be paid as Trump's personal attorney and get paid his retainer to get paid back. It's stuff like that. He's connecting the pieces. Why did the call with David Pecker cut off? Because an incoming call came in and ended the recording. I've had that happen to me with tape recording a call for a session I was doing with an intuitive, and somebody called in and it cut my tape recording at that point, which is too bad because I really wanted to have that part recorded and I didn't realize it had stopped. So he answered a lot of questions. He's shining a light on big things as well as little things. He's really bringing this case home. Queen of Pentacles. Michael Cohen has brought a lot of useful information for the jury. Justice. He's coming across as fair and balanced. He's not emotional. He's just telling it like it is. This is working out really great for the jury here. Ace of Cups. He's keeping himself. He's passionate, but he's keeping his passion under control. Judgment. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, no. Michael Cohen so far has hit an absolute home run with the jury. There is nothing in this jury that is saying that that there's a problem. Now, if it's an 11-person jury, you could say, well, there's 10 people that are on board and one free thinker or something along those lines. I don't think so. I think, honestly, I think the jury is solid. I think the prosecutors, well, the United States and the city and the state of New York and the city of New York got the jury that we needed to have in there. How about that? I'll leave it like that. Not like, the prosecutors got the jury they wanted. No, we got the jury that was needed. I think you got some fair jurors who are going to do what they need to do. Okay. This is 27 minutes. I'm going to end it here. I'll do a second video, and I'll focus that second video on Donald Trump trying to go for a mistrial, and if he will actually be called as a witness, and maybe speculation if he did go up as a witness, what kind of disaster that would be. My brother and I have started a YouTube channel called Twin Tarot with Gary and David. I'll have a link in the description. We have another video going up tonight, the same time as this video. If you enjoy these readings, guess what? With my twin brother, it's twice the fun, twice as much snark, much more laughter, and just a good time. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, come on over and check out Twin Tarot with Gary and David. And again, I'll have a link in the description, and there will be a little box that comes over here, and I'll have a link to a video in there, and you can just get over to that page. If you'd subscribe, that would be amazing. They're free. Free this week. Otherwise, for this video, thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. I will be on with Linda G. I'm recording this Monday night, but you'll be seeing it Tuesday. And Tuesday at noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern time, I'm going to be on with Linda G. That'll be my first time doing a live with her, and that ought to be exciting and fun. I have met Linda G in person once. She was doing a fundraiser over at Angel Heart in Benicia, and I've had one reading with her that she did for me, and then I did a reading with her a few weeks or a couple months later, and she was the one who encouraged me to start the whole YouTube thing. So you have her to thank for the mayhem that I bring into your mornings or late nights, depending on where you're living. Thank you for feeding the YouTube algorithm so that this video makes it out to a wider audience. To folks discovering this channel recently or for the first time, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you found us. I hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.